Excuse the audio here, I had to record this in a pretty weird way today. I've been reluctant to take any sort of look into the AI craze, which is mostly a blanket term for a lot of different technologies.
A large language model from OpenAI.
Algorithms, neural networks, artificial intelligence, and data mining. As in, when Google scrapes the internet to find your answer, gets it wrong, and links you to Wikipedia to say, fuck you, figure it out. Artificial intelligence, at one point, we thought would be referring to artificial people and minds, rather than the boring reality of, take this picture of a plant and turn it into a different picture of a plant.
I'm sorry, I can't do that because I am not authorized to commit copyright infringement.
It's my plant. Ramble aside, this concept of artificial music made through neural networks and learning algorithms is stupid. I don't want to know what a computer can show me what a person sounds like. I'd rather see a person play an instrument that, they can play. Because that's cooler. Honestly, I don't hate AI enough to be opposed to it for two reasons. One, less people. If you can't tell by how bitter and restless I am, I like humans, but I don't like people. In general, especially in my area, people are fucking assholes. If there's a technology that can take people away from ordinary tasks, I am all for it. However, those tasks are monotonous and mandatory tasks like grocery shopping and desk services, things that would not lose anything by replacing a person, perhaps freeing them to do something better, assuming our system was suited for that, which it isn't. Where I draw the line is when I need a person. 2, the technology is pretty cool, not as cool as what people can do.
We will give you so many oats.
Sure, robot music is unique and all, when a person makes it. We already live in a world fueled by algorithms. I've gotten kind of tired of the way people portray this technology. We live in a post-capitalist dystopia where we are at the whims of our harvested information to curate our content. What are you talking about? YouTube may have harvested whatever bullshit from me, but most of the algorithm is guesswork, and that applies to all algorithms. They assume what keeps us engaged is things that get our attention, which means bait. Rage bait, clickbait, shock bait, and masturbate. In my own experience, it has not been helpful at finding music I enjoy, because I don't know what I enjoy. And the whole purpose is the algorithm is supposed to find general songs and bands that I may like, which includes what other people like. Hey, You like horses, right? No. Then what the fuck do you like? I don't think these algorithms are inaccurate, so to say, but it's still a third person's prediction of you. And it only works when you let it. I don't use social media enough for it to get an accurate snapshot of me, nor do I particularly want to. I use it to find new music, and sometimes I do it on my own. Both get wildly different results. Manual scrolling and recommendations gets me some of the best music I've ever heard. Manually finding lists of albums and new music channels help me find new music I may not have known about. Algorithms have decided I like shitty screamo with mediocre album covers of Nature and Stereocram, because of course I'm such a piece of shit with all the kid rock I'm not listening to. I first learned of neural networks through Seth Bling, a moderately popular programmer and Minecraft creator who used it in Super Mario World speedruns. It was quite fascinating to see how it developed over time, and it really made me wonder how this technology would be used. Because at their core, these are processors. These are functions that mark flags for circumstances, which learn which flags to trigger given circumstances and equations, and process how to make the best decision. They act like a business suit, a homogeneous human-like entity working through information, paperwork, and processes in order to decide a trajectory for a mass unit company. There's a system which is designed to discard creativity and individuality in favor of general safety. Speaking of creativity, let's talk about music. While the recent pop thing released on Twitter is a basic bait bad song, this isn't the first time I saw artificial curated music. There's a Bandcamp act called Dadabots, which uses programs in order to create artificial artists. The album, Coditany of Timeness, and its 4 tracks claim to be in the genre of black metal. It mostly just sounds like aimless noise. I don't think it's bad, but I hesitate to call it good. Also, this was in 2017, and at least Dadabots actually have a subject to talk about. At least they're openly 100% artificial. They even went to the extent of citing which album they used to create it. There was an album by Everything, which used AI in the sort of same way, well, at least in the lyrics. Having it be a nebulous director, which resulted in strange, confusing poetry, but with the band there to make it more clear, it actually resulted in some of their best and most creative music, which says a lot because Everything is a very creative band. Plus, again, they were open about using neural networks. Everything just grabbed a bunch of random, conversations and forums from, 4chan and around the internet. I've heard this argument, mostly through AI gurus, that this is the same way people create art.
Is that AI art models make creative decisions. It may not be creative in the same way humans are, and it may still have lots of limitations. But when I type in steam locomotive with spider legs into Midjourney, I didn't ask it to keep the train tracks.
In some sense, sure, that's true, but a person has experiences outside of that art. Good, bad, beautiful, traumatic, boring, and weird. An artificial creator, which only creates when you give it flags and points, does not have an experience once it is done working. The result means that artificial intelligence is not intelligent. It does not have an experience. It is just a program that takes an info and regurgitates out a solution. The pop song that went viral by AI creators is only one of dozens and dozens in this genre. The song itself is aimless and completely confusing, much to its intention because it's bait. After watching a few videos, a question was brought up. Can we detect AI which integrates, and should we? Because our method of hunting down AI is to find what isn't human, usually through what we think makes us human, which requires finding concrete definitions for abstract concepts like authenticity, genuinity, and humanity. In reality, our humanity is defined by ourselves. Flaws, quirks, and compassions, not AI flaws like inability to count fingers, numbers, and weirdly textured pleather, but in our unpleasant flaws, including having a flat personality, being annoying, rude, and unpleasant, having the wrong emotion at the wrong time, being hostile to one another, and being unable to navigate a frustrating world. An AI can't replicate that because an AI isn't a program. It can try, and sometimes it can succeed, but the only reason you would believe it is real is if you need it to be real. A person that is real can hurt you, but an AI cannot. In our current technology, AI is under the strings of somebody else's control. The big issue with AI is not the technology itself, it's how slimy people want to use it. Real people have a vision in their creations, they have a perspective, a sly of flaws, and aspects of their character that are repressed and ugly, but also real and relatable. You can see that perspective and effort along with those failures and flaws in their creations. That's what makes them human. An AI, like a vapid business suit, does not have this. It is a creation and program designed to create averages. However, large tech companies want nothing more than average because average automatically appeals to everybody. Despite people preferring art made by real people, people trust AI people more. Why? Because they aren't real. A real person can hurt you. A picture of a person, an average representation of a person, cannot. Not only that, replace reliable human employees with a computer that won't ask for better wages, conditions, and surpluses, that won't go on strike, slander the company, cuss out the boss, and have opinions on the world. A computer that'll always reliably push out slosh because the companies creating it have an interest in shareholders to keep good relations with other large bureaucratic businesses. A computer which, as long as it turns on in the morning, can produce dozens of similar creations a person cannot. This channel is such a barrel of joy, ain't it? In terms of the copyright problem, there are two main defenses I've heard. The first defense is that new technology, particularly revolutionary technology, usually has a sacrifice in order to attain it. For example, the US and Russia space race costed a few lives. The Wright brothers had a death involved when learning how to fly. Benjamin Franklin killed 2 people and made a little piece of glass that helped you read. I made that last one up. But the idea is that new technology costs lives. Never mind why people died more in the past than they do today, and sure, many inventions did cost a lot of lives. However, inventions are usually made to save lives. The cotton gin was meant to make labor easier, and it did. It also helped revolutionize the African slave trade and contributed to the Civil War and race relations as we know it. You know, potato potato. It's a defense of negligence first. It's all about getting money first and making a statement later. The second excuse is that new things don't exist. Sure, but because the AI curators have come under a lot of fire for using copyrighted works, they claim this is because their data mining accidentally picked it up, claiming it's hard to unlearn something, especially in an AI where everything is tangled up, as if it's a burden they must carry, rather than a consequence for their own technology. They were doing an ethical educational study on the technology and fucking told people that, they would have a lot more grace and goodwill. However, these companies are for-profit driven, have shareholders, and don't have the patience, money, or strategy to be able to collect data like that. They want money, which means the art on the internet is an asset for them to use as long as they're ambiguous and loopholing enough to get away with it. As I've said, an AI doesn't have experiences and thoughts to build on. It only has a data set and numbers to manage. On the other hand, let me give you an example. There's a song by Caravan Palace, Rock It For Me. It's an electro swing song and it has a ton of influences. In the verses of the song, it starts out with, in a sort of tongue-in-cheek way that Wild Cherry did it on their One Hit Wonder. However, it also takes influences from the swing, ballroom, and jazz music in the early century. It also incorporates a lot of its slicker and catchier beats out of electric music, especially dance, rave, and techno. The use of boy is used closer to hip-hop or R&B slang rather than the use in Wild Cherry, which was more sarcastic and kind of ironic. The high-pitched vocals are also tied to dance music's distorted or exaggerated vocals, which comes from house. Am I saying that this was all intentional from the composers? No. I'm saying that all of this are roots and connections that either intentionally or unintentionally help create the song. The people involved were probably inspired by tons of music, and carefully constructed something unique and fun from it. There's also the history of swing, jazz, and electronic music, which helped move the music as a retro homage, instead of simply being a recreation of its generation. An AI cannot do that. An AI cannot comprehend complicated social cues, music history, and genre blending. It can come close, and in some cases even passes genuine. However, there's no story behind it. It's a prompt and it succeeded in answering. Regardless of how close AI comes to replicating real art, it can never share the history that goes into creating it. And the chance it does, a director has to be there to tell the AI what to make. Even then, they use all of these tactics and shareholder simping in order to force release a technology that not only has been neutered for corporate politics, but also a technology that doesn't even fucking work properly. Yeah, it'll get better, but the technology should have been released to the public when it was done, especially in the case that they had to tightly restrict it so people couldn't learn how to build bombs, because you can't do that anywhere else. I'm sure a couple influencers built more bombs than terrorists during quarantine. For children, even if the technology gets better, the same uncanny problem will always persist as long as it's a technology that is used to surpass humans for the sake of profit. There are definitely people who use this technology for good, probably some who will do amazing things with it. But right now the technology is being used for what corporations want it to do, make money at the expense of people. Onto a more human side of the world, I brought up those two albums. One was 100% artificial and worked in that sense. If you want a sort of harsh noise like Metal Machine music, give Dadabots a shot. Plus, having Dadaism in the name sort of implies the absurdity of the creation in its artificiality. At least, like with Daft Punk and Silver Apples, that is the point. The absurdity of living in a world where humans are not needed to create human art, where an entire creation can exist without people being present. Granted, the Residents also have done that, and they don't use AI, but hey, Dadabots is better than Maroon 5. For Everything, New Data Feel is a genuinely good album despite using AI in order to create half of it. Why? Because the album itself, like with Coditany of Timeness, uses AI as a tool and not as a crutch. It takes advantage of the artificiality as an art form. The lyrics are weird and confusing, but with the aid of the band members, it ends up weirdly wholesome and honest. Despite coming from the internet, a notoriously honest and wholesome place, the weird lyrics help it be more human, because the writers had to turn artificial into honest, and in doing that, probably had to overcorrect. The chorus of Shark Tank is intimidating and anxious.
Do you think you got everyone under your control?
Pizza Boy is a strangely relatable in its emptiness, wanting to be somebody important but feeling like an extra unable to move.
You are afraid that you're a pizza boy.
Teletype has restricted lyrics, pouring your heart out to somebody you love and enjoying being around, with a sense of something hollow inside.
Nothing makes sense anymore. Don't talk a lot, but I like it 'cause I can't tell you everything that went on, can't tell you everything that.
The song is about lying. All that can be fine, but it hurts to do when you love somebody, but it also feels good. The AI's bland nothing commentary reveals a much more empty relationship, which turns it honest and real, while also implying the rot inside of it. These two examples are weirdly human in a way that prior depictions of an empty future through The Buggles, Kraftwerk, Silver Apples, and Yellow Magic Orchestra are. Dadabots and Everything are real bands. I'm not going to act like AI is as idealized as people claim it to be. It still has the limitation that it is a program that requires a person to control it. Currently, large corporations are driving to replace humans with robots, hoping that the production of that robot, their lack of image, and general average art can replace the humanity in people. What people love about art is the expression. Regardless of how close to robots become, There is no expression in it. You can't see an AI sing like Maggie Riley or belt like Genesis Owusu. You can't see an AI shred a guitar on stage or choke it up during a video. An AI doesn't have a sense of humor or experience to reflect on it. It's a program which is dependent on the vague inputs put in by the director and the data set of which it's collected. A lot of people claim AI will one day integrate with people. I'm not doubting it, but I am skeptical that if that is completely true. Just because everything is made by robots and algorithms doesn't mean people will just stop being themselves. I have massive doubts AI is going to become this large-scale tool used by everybody, more a trend that exists for a period of time before people get bored of it. The people who care do it themselves to get their vision, and the people with less ability may use AI to aid them like a tool, and lazy people will try to use AI to dance for them. It will become integrated in our way of life, but probably not in the glamorous or scary way it will. Probably the same way the internet has been integrated and ruined into our lives. That doesn't mean we have to die for it.